My theme this week, phrase. We have solved perception, but we are failing at action. Listen to my summary.
So I wanted today just to summarise the various posts that I've done this week. Anyone that's following me closely will know that I've moved the conversation forward from what was Geospatial 2.0 to now this focus on augmented decision making, which is really extending the conversation around geospatial. So where are we today? We're really stuck on perception at the moment, and what I would say is we're failing on action. So what does that actually look like? We have dashboards, we have sensors, so we've moved forward in the work that we're doing, but the actual decisions that we make when we use those dashboards or those maps are usually manual. Now the challenge there is we have an architectural gap, and because we're moving forward with AI and collecting ever more beautiful data, that gap is becoming wider. So we have really a problem that we have a passive dashboard. A dashboard which one looks at, and when one hears that term actionable insight, dashboard really is talking about what's happening right now. It isn't helping with the decision-making process. So we're really thinking in terms of what is the current state of reality, and often that's a GIS analyst or somebody else rushing around trying to get the right data, trying to format that data and do an analysis and build something that people can then use to make a decision. The biggest challenge there is we have a latency gap. And I talked a lot about this week, this latency gap, where if I need to make a decision that's a fast decision, for example, I'm a wildfire commander, I haven't got the time for an analyst to go and collect all the data and produce this beautiful map. Things have changed. So that gap can be, it's a time critical gap, that latency gap in the decision-making process, but it can cost lives. So we're talking about things which are really critical here. I discussed this week a lot about world models. The guys at World Labs have just released Marble, which is their first product that they've released. And world models have really changed the game. They start, instead of actually painting a picture of how the world looks today in a map or a dashboard, world models are really these things that understand the world. And there's a lot of evolution in that whole world of world models. I mentioned that Jeff Bezos has just invested 6.7 billion, I think it is, 6.2 billion on a new company, since he's now no longer sort of fully focused on Amazon. And it's a world models focused company. So a lot of people are focused in that world. Yann Leclerc from Meta has just announced that he's leaving there to start a company which is again focused on world models. So we're really talking about physical AI, a focus on physical AI, and it's moving us away from the descriptive world that are LLMs into this other world. And I've really broke this down in a couple of places this week. Again, my focus is on that decision layer. But where we're talking in this middle technical section is spatial intelligence. And I see spatial intelligence really splitting down into two places. The first one, as I've mentioned, is that simulation world models, where we can ask those what-if questions. So before we take in a decision, we can actually ask about what might happen if that fire changed direction and moved to the south instead of the north, what are the implications there? So we can run lots of different scenarios with world models, and that's where World Labs and others have got focus. But we have also got the reasoner, the brain in the room, and I keep describing this as like the second brain. It's augmenting, and that's a really important word. I think AI is attached very much to automating, which means replacing humans, or at least speeding humans up, faster building of a map, faster output of an analysis which provides insight. But where I'm taking that to is really the augmented decision-making piece, where that other brain is helping folks make a decision. So again, it's what should I do next? And in those time-sensitive things, I'll use a wildfire example. If the system knows, because of sensors, real-time sensors being fed into the AI, that the wind's changed direction, we make a different set of decisions. But it's the two brains in the rooms that's doing that. It's the wildfire commander that's thinking that one through with his expertise, and this other brain which has got up-to-date information that is helping to advise on what should be the next decision and what action should take. And again, in these situations, these are life-saving situations potentially. So it was really an interesting week for me to discuss this kind of pivot, I suppose, so to speak, into this world of leveraging geospatial data, using spatial intelligence with these two particular engines I've spoken about, to improve dramatically the decision-making process. And I kind of finished the week off talking about DeepMind, Google DeepMind, who are doing some amazing work, and I watched a documentary all about the work that they're doing, and again, they're very much focused on the next phase of AI. They talk about the fact they're not training anything on maps. They're training their models on how we learn. So, you know, as a kid, we learn by observing, we learn by touching. That's kind of at the heart of very much how we're training these AI models to do what we want them to do, to be that second brain in the room. So I think we're moving from seeing to doing. We're moving away from dashboards, and we're building out this architecture of action. And I think that what I'm doing in these conversations is really kind of try and map that out. We are in a phase of change within the AI world. Again, LLMs have been, AI has really been focused around that machine learning, which is very task-oriented, very specific task-oriented. With LLMs, the new one, with transformers that came out of Google, which are able to provide descriptions, but have no way to think, no way to remember. And then we're moving into this other world where we're actually beginning to understand the real world in 3D. So I'll continue the conversation. I wanted this week just to summarize all of the 5 or 6 posts that I've done. And again, I'm hoping that's a good summary of things. If you've got any questions, if you've got any input, I welcome that. And I'll do another talk off of next week's posts in a week's time. Thanks for watching.